Hello and welcome back to the show. I'm Tom Chriistiano. Well, tonight we have an outstanding panel of town leaders to talk primarily about Chelmsford issues. And with me tonight for the first time on the show, we have Glenn Diggs. How are you, Glenn?
Great, thank you.
Thanks for being on the show, Glenn. And as everyone may know by now, that you're running for selectman this year.
Yes.
And we'll talk about how many candidates we have later on in the show. But also, Glenn used to be my next door neighbor for a number of years, right, Glenn?
Yes.
So you could tell everybody all the secrets I have, right? What I do at the house, how I sunbathe in the nude out in the deck.
Glenn, did he throw a lot of parties?
Yeah. Oh, it's been wild over there, right? At 10 o'clock, the lights go out. TC is in bed.
That's right.
Every night getting up at 5. But, so it was nice having you in the neighborhood there. You and your beautiful wife, Valerie Diggs, who worked for the Chelmsford school system until a few years ago. Everybody, I think, knows about this. She worked in the library, right? Director of Library Services or something. And you have a lot of beautiful children. They're grown, most of them now, though. So
the children are grown, but now there's 8 grandchildren, so
and
now starts over again.
Yeah.
God bless.
And now you're living in Williamsburg, right?
Yes.
Area. How do you like it over there, Glenn?
It's I love it.
Great, wonderful.
It's a very diverse community, ages and nationalities.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a melting pot.
Nice. So you like it so far? That's good. And you work in sales, right, Glenn?
Correct.
Is that correct?
I sell parking systems.
Nice. So we'll talk about your campaign and everything later on, what
Great.
your priorities are. So thanks for being here, Glenn.
Thank you.
And we have my friend Matt Hanson with us again tonight for the 14th time,
Yes,
Matt.
good evening, Tom.
Good
Thank
evening.
you for having me back.
Thanks for being back, Matt.
14th,
Now that you
wow.
have the new job, too, as the Assistant Town Administrator in Tingsboro,
Yes.
I didn't know if you'd have time to get to the show today, but I'm so glad you were able to join us.
Well, I had to wake up a little early and go into work a little early, but I didn't want to miss the show. I
Nice.
appreciate having me on.
And it's very busy over there in Tingsboro and your new
Yes.
job?
Yep, no,
Very
absolutely.
busy?
The manager's office is always a busy office because,
Yeah.
something new comes up every day. We're always working on new projects. The selectmen met last night in Tingsboro and they had a new list of issues and priorities they wanted us to look at for the next 2 weeks before the next meeting. So there's always something new.
I see, yeah. And how do you like the town administrator there, the person you work most closely with?
Right. Oh, no, he's been fantastic. He just started about a year ago, so, he's really just starting to, I think, come into his own now, and then I'm coming in to try and help him as well. So we're both sort of relatively new, and we think there's a lot of potential in town to grow and work with the Board of Selectmen,
Nice.
Together. So it's a great partnership we have.
And one thing I always notice when I drive up to Costco on Route 3A is the old, it used to be Unitarian Church there, right
Yes.
there across the street from the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm so glad to see that that's going to finally be redeveloped and something's going to be done with that building which was deteriorating, right, Matt?
Yes.
Are
Yep.
you working
the town,
on that at all?
Yep, that's one of the projects I'm working on a little bit. The town just purchased the building a few years ago, and town meeting passed a few $100,000 in funding to renovate it and restore it. Mostly just the outside for now, so the rain will stop pouring in and get the building repainted, and then find some type of community use for
Oh,
it.
that's wonderful. Yeah,
So-
that's a smart idea. Stop the deterioration, fix the roof, and make it appear nice on the outside. And then when you get additional funds later to work on the inside.
Right.
As you know, we spent, $2 million plus on each of our old town halls.
Yes.
But a lot of that was grant money, right, Matt?
Well, CPC money
Or
here
CPC,
in town,
yeah.
and
Community preservation,
they actually
yeah.
just spent $2.5 million for their old town hall, which is just up the street from that First Parish Church.
Nice.
So they're doing a lot of historic preservation there. They have a Winslow School and a Littlefield Library just up the road as well. So that's really their historic district. But that one building you were talking about that everyone sees as they go into town, that's really sort of the pinnacle of the historic center there. So we
Yes.
really need to get that restored and just looking, beautify it and preserve it.
I'm so glad about that. Yeah, thanks. And I don't know if I mentioned, but Matt is currently the chairman of the Chelmsford Board of Selectmen, right?
Yes.
This is your 6th year, right? The
Yes.
end of your second term, you decided not to run for re-election
Yes.
because you're so busy in Tingsboro. You just got married a few months ago. How's that going, Matt?
It's going great.
Swimmingly, right? It's great. They're wonderful.
I know married couples tend to have a lot of different advice I've received over the past few years, but we've been married just a couple months now. I think that's still sort of the honeymoon phase anyways, but no, it's great. We don't have any children yet, so we have a lot of time, outside of our work and other responsibilities to spend with each other and to, relax a little bit. Before things get too hectic, once we start having kids and grandkids and other things.
Teresa's a wonderful person. I've known her since you've been dating her, I think. And
years.
I always like taking your picture with her and all the
she's
town functions.
Very
and
good about
things.
coming to the town functions with me.
Yes, yeah, it's wonderful. In fact, I interviewed you and Teresa at the tree lighting,
Yes.
holiday prelude, and that was nice.
That was great.
To
That was
be able to talk to you there.
Great event this year.
So, well, we'll talk about everything going on at the Board of Selectmen later on in the show.
Sure.
Thanks, Matt.
Absolutely.
Thanks. And we have my good friend Mike Raisbeck here for the fourth time, Mike.
Yep.
So thanks for being here. Mike is the
Thank you very
chairman of the Chelmsford Planning Board, right, Mike?
Indeed.
How do you like that so far?
I love it. I love it. We have sort of a tradition on the planning board. We pass this around. Nobody takes it for more than a year, maybe two.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. To mix
Is this
it
the
up.
first year you're
Yeah,
chairman?
this is my first year as chairman.
And how's
so
it going so far, as chairman?
I think it's going rather well.
Good.
You know, we've got a couple of things done where we got a bylaw passed at the fall town meeting that I was glad to see, looking toward trying to support some kind of affordable housing
Oh,
event.
right, yeah, that one, yes.
And we have some other activities coming up as well.
Wonderful. Well, we could talk about later
Yeah, I
on in the
figure
show
you'll
the
get to that.
details. And so are you an engineer or something, Mike? Or
I'm an engineer and an attorney.
An attorney, right,
but
right.
frankly, more engineer than attorney.
Yeah. And how many years have you been on the planning board thus far?
Oh, good grief.
Well,
now
that's
you've
okay.
asked me a tough question.
Oh,
that
that's
must
okay.
be 6 or 8 years. at
6
this
or 8,
point.
but you're
I
not up. You're
yeah.
up for town meeting rep this
Right.
year, right? Precinct 1. You
That's
live on
correct.
High Street
Yeah.
in a beautiful antique home
Yep.
over there. You had a nice Halloween party. I
Oh,
was
well,
there.
thank you
Remember
for
that with
coming.
my
Yes.
cowboy hat, my
Yep.
vest, my cowboy boots. Maybe you seem a
It
little
was
taller.
pretty
Sal.
good.
Yeah, it was great. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. And people may not know, but Mike and your friend
Yeah,
Ian have
yeah.
about 20 chickens or something.
Yep.
And a pigeon. You still have
And
the
a pigeon, yes.
Yeah,
we had
yeah, but-
one day we found this pigeon on the front porch. It was having a little trouble flying, but otherwise looked like a perfectly healthy pigeon. So we picked it up, put it in a cage, took care of it for a week, put the cage down with the chickens, and we opened the cage door one day and the pigeon didn't want to leave. So
Nice.
we now have a pigeon.
That's nice. Wow. And fresh eggs every day
Yep.
if you want. Whatever.
Indeed we do.
Well, thanks, Mike, for being here.
I'm
It's great.
very glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks. And we have my good friend Sal Lupoli with us. How are you, Sal?
Excellent, Tom. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks. It's been, it seems so long since you've been here, but it's only been about a year or something. But it's always a pleasure having you on the show because we have so much to talk about, given your interests in Sal's enterprises, real estate, Sal's Pizza, Salvatore's Restaurant, which we could talk about a little bit now if you want, about
anything you want,
how you have 5 Salvatore's restaurants which you developed and started and they're successful. And then about 6 months ago, I read in the Lowell Sun how you sold them to 5 of your dedicated employees, right, Sal?
That's absolutely correct. You know, it's pretty tough to hang around. Me always talk about being an entrepreneur, and then the people that work for me. We have about 1,000 employees that work in the organization, and 4 of my most loyal employees, if you were to aggregate the number of years they worked for me, it'd be close to 50 years of dedication and loyalty. And they said, hey, boss, we'd like a little shot at the apple. Will you partner with us?
Yeah.
And we want to open our own stores. And I kind of took a step back. I thought about it, and I said, I'm going to do something a little better. I'm going to sell you the 5 restaurants that are the Salvatore's brands that have been very, very successful. Some of them as much as 12 years now. And I'm going to give you an opportunity because today, for a small entrepreneur to get involved in a business is very difficult. Yes. It's a huge cash outlay, especially if you're going into the restaurant business.
Yes.
And the restaurants that we develop, some of them cost upwards of $1.5 million.
Wow.
So how's a small entrepreneur, or how's a father or a mother of a family going to afford something like that? That's tough stuff.
So you helped, you basically financed
I financed
it, right?
100% of it.
100%.
I mean, these are loyal guys, and
Then they're paying every month they
that's
pay
right.
you
No
on the
interest.
note or whatever. No interest. That's fantastic. That's,
I've been blessed in my life, and this is a great opportunity for me to pay it forward and to show people. And part of the deal was a contract that I made them sign for 10 years, and the contract is really unique, and it gives me a lot of ability to kind of right the ship if I see the ship going in the wrong way. Yeah. But one of the biggest things that I'm most proud of is in every contract, I'm going to turn over the employees to you. You don't have the ability to fire them unless there's negligence.
Yes.
So don't think you're going to come in here and clean house because you want to drive
That's
another 2% to the
yes.
bottom line or 3%.
Yes.
Those people that have been here that have helped this organization, they will stay at the pay rate that they're at.
That's a great idea,
that was the
great
deal.
provision. That's
the deal.
wonderful.
It's good. It's working out well so far.
And also, Sal, you're currently the Vice-Chairman of the Chelmsford School Committee,
Yes.
right? 1 year now, I think it's been. In April, it'll be 1 year.
That's correct, Tom.
And so how do you like it so far?
I love it.
Oh, could we put that in?
Drink.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
no,
You
no,
sound a
that's,
little scratchy.
yeah.
Oh,
That's
okay,
fine.
I'm
I
sorry.
I think I'm coming off a little bit of the flu, so that's,
All
you know, you're right. It is a little scratchy. Thanks, Matt.
Okay, okay.
But I feel like Marco Rubio right there.
Yeah, but at least you didn't rush over and go, oh.
No, to that point, I love it, Tom. I really do. You know, I love talking to Al. I love talking to Jay every day. I enjoy sitting next to Barbara and listening to her advice. But, you know, when you have a leader like Al Thomas who's been around so long, and I have the luxury of having a very dear friend in Angie Taranto that I'm able to call almost every meeting and say, you know, Tom, Angie, what do you see? What are you thinking? And then I have the ability to speak with Jay, and I speak with Jay probably 4 or 5 times a week. And I do a lot of listening with those people, because there's some really bright and smart people, and all I just want to do is absorb it and then make sure and facilitate the plan moving forward. I just want to support that, because I'll tell you what, if you talk about Jay Lang and you talk about some of the decisions he's made, and you talk about people like Principal Murray, who's come on board, I mean, we have some really great hirees, you know. If you think about it, Jay Lang has only been with us for 4 months.
He's a new superintendent.
As a new superintendent, and he's already done so many things that has inspired me and impressed me. You know, some of the things that Jay Lang has done. You know, he's put out that assessment. You know, he got, Paul Cohen gave, the town gave us $200,000 to look at every one of our buildings. What do we need to do with these buildings over the next 10 years? This way we can come to town meeting and explain them. He also has built such a coalition and built bridges with, whether it's Tom Gilroy at the finance, Paul Cohen, the town managers, and certainly the selectmen, keeping them informed of what's going on. So when Jay Lang talked about transparency, I find him absolutely following that.
That's fantastic.
You know, and therefore, when you have that transparency that we've always talked about, and Jay Lang goes in front of Paul Cohen and says, Paul, you know, we've had some special ed setbacks. You know, Paul Cohen realized it. He looked at it. There's such a collaboration now with the numbers. He said, I see it. And he was able to help the school system, because we run on, that budget is so tight, there's no fat in there, that he was able to support the special ed program, because we had a big expense. You know, special ed is a moving target. You know, it's up, it's down. So, but that's what transparency does, and that's what Jay Lang's doing for our community.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And maybe later on in the show, we'll talk more about Jay Lang and some of these new positions that are going to be created, or new hires. Also about the school committee race and the other races in town.
Sure, I love it.
And but so far, do you like your first year as school committee? You love it?
I absolutely love it. I enjoy it. I'm really impressed with the way my team has supported me. You know, it's almost on a daily basis. Like I'm telling you, I get a call from one of the school committee members just giving me a little advice. And he's also these former school committee members giving me some advice. I enjoy being out in the community and listening to what people have. Listen, this is the truth. I enjoy when a parent calls me and says, hey, can you look into my child? I just think it's not being handled the right way. I was on the phone yesterday with one of the principals, and I won't name him, of one of the middle schools, and I was able to articulate one of the problems that a parent had, and he said, Sal, I'm going to jump right on it. And,
wonderful.
And that's just great stuff.
That's fantastic.
That's what it's all
and
about.
also, people may not know, but you're very busy with your businesses, but I don't know how you find the time to coach the football team. What are you, assistant coach, or you're out there all the time, right?
Yes, I've been a football coach for 11 years.
11 years, geez.
You know, and it's only because of my skill set that I've been allowed to coach football. In other words, you know, it's not the passion of football, it's because that's what I do, right? And that's one, if you're in performing arts, that's what they do exceptionally well. So I just want to do something that I did well in the past, pass it on. Been a coach for 11 years. I was the president of Chelmsford Papuana and a coach for 8 years.
Wow.
I'm the vice chair of the third largest chamber of commerce in the state.
Really?
Merrimack Valley Chamber of Commerce.
Really? You're the chairman?
I'm the chairman. I've been in chairman
for 6 years. How do you find the time for all this, Sal?
Well, you should have asked that about the school committee, because then I could have told you, how do you not find time when it has to do with the kids?
Yes, we're going to put that on a plaque, right? How do
but-
you not find time when it has to do with the kids?
Yeah. So it's
Listen,
you find
that's
time.
amazing. Plus, we'll talk maybe later about this. Lowell, maybe the building you own near the
Sure, that'd be
train
wonderful.
station,
That'd be
you're going to
wonderful.
work
I
on that.
appreciate that, Tom.
That's
Thank you.
fantastic, Sal. Thank you. Well, I thought maybe if we could start with our selectman candidate, Glenn Diggs, tonight. And Glenn, as people may know at home, there's 2 open seats this year. Matt Hanson was on the show tonight, decided not to run for
Thank
a 3rd
you.
term.
You're welcome.
Because he's busy with, being the assistant town administrator. He just got married. He's a realtor. He's so busy. So he didn't run, and Janet Askenberg also is busy at her job. So we have 2 open seats this year, which is quite unusual. So Glenn decided, what, about 2 weeks ago, I think, or a week? or
Well,
so
no,
ago?
I've been looking at it for quite some time.
Yeah.
As you know, my wife Valerie was the school librarian who was laid off in the turmoil that went on in the school.
Yes.
And part of that was I began immediately going to the school committee meetings.
Yes.
And virtually went for an entire year. That kind of pushed me along, and then I started going to most of the finance meetings, and then I started to attend some of the selectmen meetings and to see how the process would work out. It's like watching football at home or going to a game. When you watch on TV, you watch what they want you to watch. When you go in person, you get to see really the interaction between the people.
Yes. Yeah.
And what I found was that I didn't feel there was quite the level of cooperation and communication between the various segments. You go to a tri-board meeting, and I didn't feel they were particularly working together. They were kind of still looking at each other as, this is your problem, and you created it for us, and that kind of thing. I think there are many committees and boards, such as the planning board in the town, and I believe that they are stocked with some really good people, but truthfully, you never get to hear about all the things that they're doing, which I'm sure is considerable. And I just felt that they need someone to kind of bring that to the forefront, to create an atmosphere where not only are people listening, but to listen, you want to listen to the right dialogue, and sometimes you have to steer that dialogue. You get to stir the pot a little bit and get that out of people sometimes.
Yes,
it's there,
yeah.
but they may be a little hesitant to bring up things. So with all that said, that's the reason that I decided to run.
Wonderful, wonderful. So how's your campaign going so far? You pulled the papers a while ago. How many signatures do you have so
Well,
far?
I have over the minimum amount. I'm going to be, getting quite a few more.
Did you bring your papers tonight, by the way?
No.
Okay, that's okay. Okay.
I know where you live, Tom.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was going to sign in for you. Yeah.
So
yeah.
yes, and I've reached out. I'm meeting with a number of people in the town. The leaders, to find out their viewpoints on what their needs are, what they feel they haven't been met, and what they would like to meet in the future. You look around at just the general climate. The state is basically fixed right now. You look at the problems the town has with escalating costs that they have no control over, like the benefits and so forth and so on. I look at the fact that the town, although the town has built a new police station, it's built a new fire station, that's not like building a new school. And I would have to believe that the report that's coming out that Lang has created is going to come back and say, we need some new facilities, maybe not tomorrow, but down the road. And I would like to think that Chelmsford is doing as much as they can to create an economic climate to bring in additional revenues, because if you're a taxpayer, it's one thing to go to them and say, look, we're going to build a $100 million school, and this is going to be X. The first thing I would want to say is, what have you been doing to reduce that as much as you can, so that maybe it isn't $100 million, or the state's going to pay the majority of it, but there's going to be a big amount of money to be paid. And if you can start now for the future, it will benefit everyone.
Yes, right. Are you planning to run kind of a typical campaign with sign holdings, campaign parties, campaign managers, treasurers, and all that?
Yes, I expect to do that, yes.
Yeah, nice. You haven't run for office previously, have you?
Never. I'm a
never,
puppy.
wow.
I'm a puppy.
No.
So I've never done anything wrong. On the other hand, I've never done anything right. So, and one thing I should point out is that when I pulled my papers, they asked you to sign your name.
Yeah.
So I did. And my official name is Albert Glenn Diggs.
Yes.
But, when I was in kindergarten, I went home after a couple of weeks, and I said to my mother, she said, how's it going? And I said, it's okay. I said, but, every day they take attendance, and they keep calling for this kid, Albert. and he's never there, and they never call me because I've never used my first name. But I am one and the same person.
Yeah. Could I ask, is it you don't like the name Albert? Is that the reason?
I
or-
just have become accustomed to Glenn.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I did see it with the papers, which I brought all the candidates and everything. Today, Sandy Martinez pulled papers for selectmen.
Sure.
And Pratt Wojcik had pulled previously, so we have 3 candidates at the moment for the 2 seats for the Board of Selectmen. Pat Wojcik, Glenn Diggs, and Sandy Martinez. And we may have more we have another month, I guess, before
Well, I
the
think that
papers.
the more people that run, giving the public a better choice, giving them the opportunity to hear more issues, is better for everyone.
So, and I'm looking forward to the debates, yeah. And do you want to ask for the vote or anything, or just?
Sure,
look at
I
that?
would hope that people will, be listening to what I have to say. I'm on Facebook. I'll also be at, the debates, and I'll be around town. And I hope that you would consider me for one of your 2 votes for selectman.
Great. Well, best of luck with it, Glenn. And I always try to attend all the debates. I find them very interesting and exciting. I wish everybody in town would, but sometimes you go to these debates and, well, some people, I guess, watch them on TV, or most of the people. But sometimes there's only like 20 people in the audience, right? Matt has been to many of them.
Few.
And Mike's a few. But
Well, perhaps if Sal would donate pizza to the free for everyone.
yeah, that would be right.
I'd get a few more people there.
Careful.
You should have seen
Campaign
when Sal-
finance laws.
Oh, but when Sal had his campaign party at the Princeton Station,
That's great.
boy, the food you had there that day is fantastic.
Princeton Station is phenomenal. I hope everybody would go down to it because they were so accommodating.
Yeah.
They really want to support what's happening in local government, and whether it's the school committee or selectmen. And
Yeah.
they allowed us to do some really aggressive things down there with our food, and I really appreciate what they did. They're a great organization.
Great. Well, and your party was amazing. Was
it?
Yeah, thanks, Sal. So we'll have to, are you going to run in a couple of years? It's too early to ask. Remember, I think you should run for governor someday, though, Sal.
I appreciate it. Who
I
knows?
think you really should. When Charlie Baker's face, he's the most popular governor in the country
he
right
really
now,
is. And
and
he's,
he's doing I think a great job. So
Big supporter of Charlie Baker. I'm on record, and I feel he's done a wonderful job so far. And as you said, he is the #1 governor in the entire country.
in terms of favorability rate,
That's correct.
it's something like 73% or
That's right.
something.
That's right.
And I think it's fantastic. So, and he's a nice guy. I met him
Sure
when he
is.
was running over here.
Charlie gets
I
it.
shouldn't say this, but the first thing I said to him, I said, he comes up, we're at the lodge in North Chelmsford there, for veterans, whatever it is, VFW Hall or whatever. And so there's a party, the Republican Party of some sort. So I mentioned to him what great shape he's in. That's how much I'm interested in people's shape. Because, he's like 58 years old. He's in good shape, all nice. And I said how thin he was. Whatever. He probably thought I was crazy. He's absolutely nuts, this guy.
He's the best.
I said, you're keeping in great shape. First thing I said to him. But you know what? He's such a good politician that later on in the night, he remembered my name and was friendly. Said, hi, Tom, this or that, And I was quite impressed by that. With all the people he meets, to remember my first name later on.
I just think this is important, Whether you have a D next to your name or an R next to your name, it's unimportant. Can you cross over and do what's best for the community?
Yes.
Can you cross over and do what's best for the public?
Yeah.
And I think Charlie Baker is able to do that in a very heavily, naturally Democratic state like Massachusetts is. You see Charlie Baker starting to get things done because he knows how to cross over.
Yeah.
I can't find a Democrat politician, and I deal with lots of them, that have anything negative to say about Charlie.
Yes.
He might not be in your party, but you do respect the gentleman,
Yes.
and he respects you. So
Yeah.
I think that's where it starts.
Hopefully someday he'll think about running for the presidency. Wouldn't that be great? He's going to maybe serve 4 or 8 years here.
Yeah,
and
well, I think you'll see him for 8
I
years.
think he'd be better than most of the Republican candidates this year.
Well,
I would, not to talk about that, but I just think he would be, he just
Great
knows
guy.
how to, you have to
Great
be able to
family
work
man.
along the aisles and not be so polarizing, like be totally over to the right where you can't get along with all
would
the
agree.
Democrats in Congress.
agree.
So I think he can get along with it. But thanks, Sal, thank you. And maybe if I could talk to Matt a little bit, the chairman of the Chelmsford Board of Selectmen. We had an important meeting last night. I know you
Yes.
had recused yourself during the part with Joe Reddy and the liquor store thing. I watched that on the computer this morning. It was very
good.
interesting.
You watched the whole meeting? Or just
Not the
part?
whole meeting,
Oh, that part.
primarily
Oh, God.
that part, yeah.
It was a long
It was a
meeting.
long meeting, 3 hours plus.
Yes,
It was
yes.
amazing. So Matt, what are the top things going on at the Board of Selectmen lately. You're welcome to mention whatever you want. Or
Sure, and I think it's good that you brought up the meeting last night, because one of the things that we did was we invited our legislative delegation in, and most of them did show up, our state senator, 3 of our state representatives, and we talked to them about some of our legislative priorities and some of the different things they're working on in their different committees. And a lot of the town's priorities focus around the budget and, you know, being able to fund our capital moving forward. And a lot of that relates to what the state is doing. We, of course, talked to them about OPEB and how things have kind of slowed down with that reform, which is paying for retiree health insurance. So we tried to nudge them a little bit to sort of help bring some of the momentum back. And they sort of really listened to what we had to say. You could tell that we were passionate about it, and they're interested in moving that forward.
Nice.
You know, our liability is now over $3 million a year, but we have started to fund that. So there's a lot of things that we're partnering with them on. We talked to them about funding an estate bond bill for Chelmsford Center, as well as tearing down some of the old abandoned buildings at UMass Lowell West campus that potentially pose a fire hazard to some of the residents who live along
how
there.
much would that be, this estate bond bill you're talking about?
The state bond bill, it was, I think, over $4 million for Chelmsford Center if it were to be released, and it was, quite a few, $800,000 maybe to tear down the buildings and take care of that entire site.
And what buildings are you talking about to be torn down?
You know, the UMass Lowell
the
West
UMass
campus,
Lowell, the
right
North
on the
Chelmsford
Chelmsford
kind
Lowell
of area,
line.
right? Nice,
Yes.
nice. And in the center, you talk about the redevelopment too, by
Yes.
the Beaver Brook and
Yep,
all that,
the
which would be
redevelopment
beautiful to
plan.
walk with.
Yeah,
And,
we received
that-
funding in the last state bond bill, one of the last year's state bond bills.
Yeah. So they're going to try to get us.
$5 million. Yeah.
They're going to try to get us all of that funding
Yep.
as best they can.
So we talked to them about possibly having Secretary Ash come out and meet with us, and maybe some of the other neighboring
What
communities.
department is he with, Secretary Ash?
Secretary of Economic Development.
Economic
State
Development,
Yeah.
great, thank you.
So it'd be great if he could come out. It's tough to get the ball rolling. The state's having a little bit of a deficit right now. They talked about how revenues are up a little bit, but some of their fee revenues are down. So the tax revenues are up, but some fee revenues are down. So they're trying to fill a gap near the end of the year now. And I think Representative Golden mentioned the fact that it's kind of tough when you're cutting state government in one area to also be releasing bonds to be paying for other future projects at the same time. So,
Yeah.
you know, now is not necessarily the best time to move forward with some of those projects, but,
Yes.
you know, it is something that we're keeping an eye on. And then I think more on a local level, the selectmen have some major capital projects we're looking at. I know Glenn mentioned the school projects. We have the modular buildings, which are reaching their end of their life. We need some new school science labs, and we're going to be looking at potentially purchasing the forum, I think, in 2018. So we're going to have to start looking at different funding mechanisms now
Do you
if we
think-
want to afford some of those.
Do you think the town would want to purchase the forum? Has anybody expressed interest, or Paul Cohen, or whatever, or some of the residents?
I think there would be some interest. I don't think we want to lose our sort of ownership interest in it. You know, whether that includes negotiating another sort of lease with the state, that would be one option, or whether we want to just buy it, because we have spent a lot of money out of the revolving account to improve the building, the parking
Yeah.
lot, the roof, the ice.
Yeah.
So
Could I ask about how much do you think that would go for?
somewhere in the few $1 million range. It is a very large
Yeah.
piece of property, you know, already developed with plenty of parking right off of Route 3. So we haven't done an appraisal yet. I think that's going to be one of our next steps.
Yeah.
So as soon as we hear more, that'll give us a better idea on whether we want to consider tackling that as far as purchasing it.
Yeah. And the DPW, remember there was another portion of that we might fund in the future? Is that ever
yes.
going to come up again, to finish the DPW
No,
facility?
it will. We definitely do want to complete those final phases. We haven't talked about that too recently,
I know,
but it
yeah.
is something, if we
might,
have
yeah.
a lot of free cash maybe at the end of the next fiscal year, and we could take some towards that, or just build that into our capital moving forward,
Yeah.
we would like to get that wrapped up as well.
Nice. Thank you. So the meeting was interesting last night, right? 3
Yes.
hours?
Yep, 3 hours.
And and you're still working with Ready Real Estate to some extent, right? That's why you had to recuse yourself, which
yes.
is fine.
I still have
whenever
my license
whenever
there.
you work for somebody,
Don't
it's the
have-
right thing to do.
Right.
You just
I mean,
can't vote on something, with that. It's just,
I could have recused myself and just said we have other business relationships. I thought the license application was actually very straightforward and pretty simple, but
Yeah.
it's really the appearance of a conflict of interest. And
Yes.
even though I could have told everyone we had a business
Oh, yeah.
relationship and I thought it'd be okay to vote, I just didn't want to be
Oh, yeah,
involved. I
no,
didn't want to, cloud his application or his license
Yes.
at all, so I just wanted to step back and
Yeah.
and let him bring it to the other 4 members. And it did pass 3-1.
Yeah.
So of course I was very happy for him, but I didn't want to be involved in the process.
Yeah, that was a smart thing to do, I think. And so you're still going to be a realtor, right? Which we talked about on the phone a while ago.
Yes,
even though you're very busy with other things.
Right.
So-
Mostly friends and family, and I do have a big network. I can send some referrals to the company if I don't have time, depending on the type of business it is. If it's going to require a lot of servicing, during the day. I just don't have the time right now. Maybe when I'm off the Board of Selectmen, maybe I'd have a little more time.
Yeah, right.
We'll see. I do enjoy selling real estate, but my passion is working in government, volunteering, and serving that way. So
Yeah, wonderful. And any thoughts about leaving after 6 years? Do you really sad about leaving, or are you glad you're going to be leaving, or?
No, it is definitely sad. I think even going back, I think I've probably said a few times the only regrets that I have are that I don't have more time to put into it and more time to serve, and that I do have to work to pay the bills because. All the things Sal was talking about. When somebody calls you and they have a problem and you can help work through that with them and help fix problems, that's what it's all about. You need people who have energy and are passionate and who can connect people together to solve problems, and that's what I've tried to do for the last 6 years. And I'm going to have to step back from doing that, and it kind of leaves a little bit of a hole thinking about it. But I know we already have 3 candidates who stepped up. I'm sure we'll have more before the end of the time to return papers.
Probably, yeah.
And I'll still be able to be involved in other ways. I'm still on the civic committee. I'm still a town meeting rep. And, we'll see what happens in the future, too. I'm 27 still, so
Yes. I was going to
I'm
say,
retiring, but I
and
guess
your
I'm
future, I mean, you don't know if it's going to be as maybe a town manager, or are you interested in an elective office again, do you know, in the future? Or
So, I mean,
is it?
I've spent a lot of time as an elected official, and I really do love that avenue. And we've talked, I've looked at different things in the past. My education and experience and my current position as an assistant town administrator really sets me up well to be a town administrator or town manager someday, and that really is my goal right now. I really love my job and the different projects that I
That's
work
wonderful.
on. Day to day. It sort of allows me to continue to do some of the same things I do as a selectman, but really administer the process and bring things all the way from beginning to end.
I think that would be great, Matt, for you.
We'll see what
And
see what
eventually,
happens.
as you do it, like for a year, 2, 3, you see these advertisements, right? Looking for assistant town manager or town manager positions, right? You're probably a member of an organization that.
Yeah, well,
is
I'm
involved.
an assistant now, and the Mass Municipal Association and the Mass Municipal Management Association, they run trainings for new managers and potential managers. So I've been to some of those trainings, and I'll be getting more involved in that organization now that I'm an assistant administrator. And that's my career path and what I'm working on now.
That's fantastic. I think it's a great career path.
Thank you.
And congratulations on all your success, Matt.
No, thank you very
At
much.
a young age, 27, it's amazing. I mean, a lot of people say that, which you don't hear, but they,
Oh,
boy,
yeah.
Matt, boy, he's doing great. He's come so far and so fast. I hear it quite often.
I'm-
Sal probably does too.
Absolutely. I have to say one thing. I think you've done an unbelievable job for our community. I want to personally thank you.
Thank you.
At the age of 27 years
I
old,
know.
to
Could you
accomplish what
believe-
he's done is
Amazing,
truly
yeah.
amazing, and that's a test of his character.
Yes.
Great. Thank you, Matt.
I
Thanks,
appreciate
thanks,
it.
Matt. So, thank you, Matt. We'll be back later to talk about the election and everything if we have
Sure.
time, hopefully. Maybe we could talk for a minute to Mike, a few minutes, and a few minutes to Sal, and then back to everybody. We have so many topics as usual. So, Mike, as a chairperson, chairman of the Chelmsford Planning Board, so anything coming up this year? What's going on with the planning board lately?
Well, broadly speaking, we're halfway through the master plan process now. Our master plan's about 5 years old.
Oh.
And I'm trying to get together a group to take a look and see how we've done. We do this every year. We should do it every year. It's happened really every 2. That we look at progress against the various goals and objectives in there. But I think this time around we need to take a very good look at it because we have to start thinking about planning for the next master plan. Now it's a little premature now. It's another year or 2 out, but we have to get that prepared. So I'm interested in that.
Great.
We've been looking a little bit at the zoning map for the town, and as you know, usages drift a little bit over time. And if you look at the zoning map right now, it doesn't completely match what's actually happening in various spots in the town. And the result of that is we see we see things coming in for variances or for some kind of exceptional treatment. So we're taking a look at that. I don't know whether we'll have anything for spring, but we're looking at it. And
Wonderful.
I hear rumors that there will be some more action in the center of town. I don't know exactly what that's going to be because it hasn't come across our desk yet.
All right, yeah. And we'll talk about the election later on. I'm gonna,
Yeah.
after I talk to Sal, then we'll talk about the upcoming election. We have 2 seats for the planning board this year. We'll talk about that. Well, thanks a lot, Mike.
Sure.
Thank you. And Sal, maybe can we talk a little bit more about what's going on in the school committee? And maybe Dr. Lang came on board, what'd you say, about 4 months ago or
About 4
something?
months ago, he came on board.
And he just had a new, you have some new proposals with him, right? RFPs that are be going out, some for new positions.
Absolutely
Could
correct.
you tell us what's going on?
I think what you're seeing with Dr. Lang right now is him taking a top-down approach to review everything that's out there. Some of the RFPs that he's putting together, we didn't RFP in the past. For example, Dr. Lang and we as a board support him. I think it's an important idea to maybe RFP the attorneys that represent the school board. You know, that was probably, there's only 1 or 2 of them, and that was one of them that they didn't necessarily have to RFP. At will, they could choose an attorney, and at will, they could spend what they needed to. I think Dr. Lang and the whole board agrees that we should do our best for our community to show them we leave no stone unturned.
Yes.
Right down to the attorneys that we're hiring, that I think they're very important. The other thing that I want to talk about, listen, I'll always talk about full-day kindergarten, full-day kindergarten, we have to have that. But I also want to talk about some of the great things that we've done so far. Since Dr. Lang and the school committee's been on board since April, our kids are much safer. We have a full-time, soon-to-be full-time police officer in the high school all the time. That's a big deal.
In uniform?
That's correct. That's
With
correct.
a gun, I
Absolutely,
hope.
absolutely. And also to lead to that point, in the past, the police department really didn't have the accessibility in the event that there was a catastrophe to tap into the cameras immediately and see what's going on. There was a disconnect. That was the old regime. The new regime with Chief Spinney and Dr. Lang and this present school committee board, we felt positive about that. Now the police department has access to that. That's another step in the right direction.
And they can look at the camera.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hopefully every day it'd be nice to look at what's going on there. Great.
So
great.
as far as when we talked about from the very beginning, safety for our kids, check that box.
You always
We're
talk
heading
about that
in
as a priority.
Very much so.
Which is great.
I think what's very important that our community has to understand is our kids can't grow mentally and physically if the nutrition is not right and if the facilities aren't clean. So I think what we have to do is look at those 2 programs. And when you look at those 2 programs, you're talking about Aramark. So I think what you're going to see is an RFP go out. I think Aramark, and I'm not afraid to go on public and say it just like this, they've seen their last days in Chelmsford. I don't think they represent their organization in the town of Chelmsford very well. I'm not happy with the way they keep the bathrooms clean and the facilities clean. I don't think our children are very safe in some of the situations that you've seen at the Lowell Sun on the headlines. So I'm excited to put that out RFP. I personally, 1/5 the vote, although the vote agrees, the whole board agrees to move in this direction also because of Dr. Lang and our chairman of our board, Chairman Thomas. I think you're going to see a more local company take some of these school ownership. What do I mean by that? Some of these local organizations that are cleaning companies, you won't have one big giant outfit that kind of dictates to you, Tom.
I think
you're going to have smaller outfits that are nimble, they can move. And also, I think it creates a competitive advantage for the town of Chelmsford. For example, if you have a cleaning company, Tom, and you're doing a really good job, and Matt has a cleaning company and he's not doing a good job, we're able to say, Matt, Tom's going to come over here tomorrow and take your job. So you need to pick up the pace. We don't really have that leverage, and I think that's really important.
That was your idea, right, Sal? Was it? Or I read about it in Lowell Sun. I thought this is a great idea to have the smaller companies, and maybe even in each school have a different custodial firm if necessary.
I think the entire board feels comfortable with this idea. I think this idea will create a competitiveness amongst them. And also, there's another part of this. Dr. Lang and Chairman Thomas also feel this. If we took somebody on our payroll back, for example, a janitor there that works for the town of Chelmsford, the school system, on our payroll, working there during the day, that's going to support with the teachers and the school system itself.
Yeah.
And also they can communicate what needs to be done at nighttime when these cleaning companies come in.
I see,
Because
yeah.
right now, Tom, what happens is Aramark's there, and there's a rolling number of employees.
During the day?
During the
During-
day. Sometimes you don't see the same people. So it's really hard to establish that relationship.
Yes, yes.
And I think it's important for every principal to have a relationship with the janitorial department,
Yes,
so
yeah.
they can communicate what's important for our kids.
Nice, that's great.
So that I'm in support of that.
And Dr. Lang, I read in the Lowell Sun the other day, there's a whole bunch of goals for the next few months.
That's right.
And you're in favor of all those goals? Do you
Yes.
want to talk about one or two of them?
Well, I think what's important is what Dr. Lang is doing is a full comprehensive approach from the top down. And he's reviewing all the goals. We as a school committee are voting on our goals to make sure we're up to par. So I think what you're going to see in the very near future is Dr. Lang really thinking outside the box, really trying to create revenue for us, and also cut some of those expenses that you've seen. So far, immediately within the school system, Dr. Lang has solved a couple of the union issues that we had, a couple of the arbitration issues that we've had in the past. Therefore, I think we have the right leader. This whole community needs to support the school system, but in particular, our chairman and our superintendent, Superintendent Dr. Lang.
Yes.
They're moving in the right
In
direction.
fact, if I remember correctly, there was a question when Dr. Lang first came on, we were thinking of hiring him. Some people wanted to wait, go for an RFP and wait like 6 months. We might have lost Dr. Lang, but I think it was you, Sal, who was kind of instrumental in saying, geez, he's available now, let's act, strike while the iron is hot, and try to get Dr. Lang in and interview other people if necessary, right? So
Tom,
it
you're
was
so right.
important that you helped get him in when he was available to come to a new school system.
I think what's important is this. What's important is take advantage of talent when it comes your way.
Right, yes.
And I think what happened was we were moving in the right direction. We were going to hire a part-time or a superintendent to come in and kind of support us for a year while we went through the interview process, which is the right approach. But then all of a sudden, Dr. Lang, through the situation that happened in Lowell,
Right.
became available. All I can tell you is this. When I read what happened, I called him within 48 hours. Within 72 hours, he was sitting in my kitchen with the chairman of our board, talking to him about the opportunity of, would you ever consider Chelmsford?
Yes,
But I will
wonderful.
tell you this, our present board, after kind of some, spirited conversations, realized that he was the right person for the job. So all 5 members came together for the best for our kids and for our town, which was, let's cut through the red tape. A lot of people said, Sal, you don't understand the process. And I said, no, I do understand the process. What you don't understand is how to react quickly to an important situation
Yes.
that can change an opportunity for our school systems
Yes.
like Dr. Lang. So sometimes there's a place for everything. And don't forget, Dr. Lang went through 12 weeks of that process in the 4th largest school system in the state of Massachusetts. This is a qualified, brilliant individual. Why would we think we're going to uncover something that Lowell didn't?
Right, yeah.
The simple fact is he was the right man at the right time for this job. And since being on board, your children of this community are in a better place today than they were a year ago.
Yeah. And I think you have a lot to do with it, Sal, to make this
I
decision
appreciate
and
it,
help
Don.
lead that decision. As you said, meeting at your house, et cetera. You were instrumental in that, and you deserve a lot of credit for it, that the school system is really coming around and being the top-notch system that we always thought it would be.
Let's talk about one more great thing that happened, Tom, that is you want to hear good information. And I think that's one of the problems that the school committee or the school system has had in the past. We don't celebrate enough of our successes, whether it's the children or certainly at the next level. Certainly to the planning, to Michael's point, and to Glenn's point, we're not getting the right information out there. But let me tell you something. We have one of the best high school principals in the entire Merrimack Valley. I will rival Steve Murray against one of the principals in the state.
Yeah.
That's how great he is.
Yeah.
We were able to attract him from Andover to Chelmsford. You know why? Because he believes in Chelmsford.
Yes.
We have the right principal in the right
Yes.
position. So
I agree.
one of
He's
the
a
most
great-
important positions.
A great guy, yes. And it's a big high school, and that's fantastic.
Held signs
Sal.
for me during the campaign.
He did,
That
huh?
guy
Oh,
was
but-
in my wife's wedding. His
Oh,
wife,
really? Oh, nice.
he's amazing.
Wonderful. Well, I wonder, you mentioned school committee, and this year we have Barbara Scar, who's up for re-election and decided to run again, pulled papers. However, Evelyn hasn't pulled papers yet, after she's been on the committee about 18 or more years.
That's great. What a great memory.
I know, and that's a wonderful thing for her to serve so long. Have you talked to Evelyn if is she planning to run again this year, or anybody?
She announced that she's not, I
Thank
believe,
you very much.
today.
I wasn't sure if she
Oh,
made the
today
announcement.
or recently or something?
Yeah, I think there was
Okay.
a whole article in the Lowell Sun.
Oh.
She wants to spend more time with her family, I believe. And
So she won't be running this year after 18 or
Yeah.
whatever plus
She's going
years.
to take a step back.
That's good. I mean, if she's comfortable with that,
I know
she's done
Barbara-
a good job.
Yeah, Barbara has, I've signed Barbara's papers. I think what's important is this. Change is good, right? And to get new people into positions, is a great opportunity. So there's going to be some new, fresh ideas, innovative ideas, hopefully, that are going to come to the board. I certainly support Barbara. I think she's terrific. But I look forward to the new opportunity of a new member of a board. And I think they'll be creative, and hopefully it'll be a dynamic board.
And hopefully you'll be the new chairman, but I don't want to jinx you or anything. But
I'm
there's
happy
the
with our
vice chair.
leader.
You're the vice chairman now.
Our
and
leader's terrific.
So,
Al Thomas
Al is
is
great. We just
amazing.
gave him a Citizen of the Year, as you may know,
Well
last
deserved.
year.
Well deserved.
And yeah, great guy, well
Amazing.
deserved. And-
I've had the pleasure of, he was around when I was in high school, and he's a true leader, and people gravitate to Al. He's like, respectfully speaking, he's like a grandfather. You trust him, you believe in him, and he believes in our community.
Yes.
And I will tell you this, one of the most honest men I've ever met in my life. So with that, I think the chairman's doing a great job, and I support him 100%.
Yeah, thank you. So we have two seats, as you mentioned, on the school committee. Barbara Scar is running for one of them, and one. And we have two other candidates. John Moses is a first-time candidate this year, kind of like Glenn Diggs at the Board of Selectmen. So we have John Moses, who pulled papers, and also Louis Marino, who ran for selectman last year, right?
Yes.
So we have three thus far. We may get more. We
Sure.
don't know. They have about another month to pull papers. Mid-February, you
Sure.
basically have Jim. So any thoughts by anybody about the candidates thus far, or anybody else who you think might be running for school committee? Maybe if we could first talk about that.
I haven't heard any rumors.
I've heard none.
No others? No others? No others? You might have heard of being on the committee.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to introducing myself to Mr. Moses when he comes. I understand he just moved into the community. He has children in the school system, so I'm looking forward to that conversation. Naturally, we have a complete resume of Barbara and her accomplishments and her interaction with the PTO, which was instrumental. She really brings the information right down from the weeds all the way up, and she does a fabulous job. And I know Mr. Marino when he ran for selectman, and I've been to many of the debates, so I look forward to hearing his position of what can be done for the schools.
Wonderful, great. Well, it should be exciting. This
Yes.
is one of my favorite times of the year when we have the local elections and the presidential election. I probably spend at least 20 hours a week following all of this on the national level, let alone the local level. But I'm fascinated by it. Morning Joe is a great show if you could DVR it, by the way. You know Morning Joe, right?
Yes.
Joe Scarborough,
Yes.
former congressman. Anyway, he's on MSNBC. So it's, anyway, Board of Selectmen, we have the three candidates thus far. Glenn Diggs, we're fortunate you're on our show tonight. And we have Pat Wojcik, who had been a selectman twice before, and is, at different terms previously, and is running again. And we have Sandy Martinez. So has anybody heard of anybody else who's thinking about running for selectman, first of all? No?
No,
Okay.
I haven't.
No? Or any thoughts about the current crop of candidates, group of candidates? No?
No, I mean, it's going to be an exciting time for Chelmsford on the selectmen front, where basically 2 of the 5 members will be new. We don't know who they'll be yet. Well, one of them could be Pat Wojcik, I suppose. I could make a comment about her.
Yeah.
We served together for a number of years, basically most of my term. She's a very hard worker. We certainly didn't agree on everything, not like I have with any of my fellow members, but she was always someone who you knew was going to vote because she always thought it was the right thing to do. It's, so whether we disagreed or agreed, she was a very hard worker, and she'd explain why she voted the way she did. And so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
She has a lot of experience, so she'll probably have a little bit of a different perspective in the debates. versus the new candidates who may have some new or different ideas. And then you're going to have sort of one of the older guns who are going to be around to give sort of the older perspective, as well as her perspective about why she's trying to get back in and some of the things she still wants to do.
Yes,
So I think it's going to lead to a really interesting debate.
Yes.
Sometimes when it's all new people and it's all new ideas, it's hard to sort of bounce that off of what's going on. I know I've experienced that. When you first run, it's only ideas. When you're running for the second or third time, it's about what have you done.
Yes.
And so it's going to be an interesting dynamic, I think.
Yes, it is. It is.
I think it's also interesting that you have both candidates who have lived in the town for a long time,
Yes.
and candidates who are relatively new. I've been here for 16 years approximately, but someone like Pat has been in the town for a long time.
whole life, yeah.
You get that dichotomy as well as people who have run before and people who haven't run before. So
Yes.
I think it'll create a great mix, and hopefully maybe we'll get some more.
It'll be very interesting, yes. I can't wait for the debates. It'll be fun. And on planning board, Mike's board, we have two positions this year. Both candidates have pulled papers
Yep.
to run for re-election. Ed Rue,
Yep.
who's been on the board for a while now, and Henry Parley, who is fairly new to the planning
Yeah.
board, but very well known in
And
Chelmsford.
done a very good job.
And done a very good job. Yep. So has anybody heard of anybody else thinking about running for planning board? No?
No, but keep in mind there is a third planning board position
Oh,
open.
right, yes.
Remember Colleen Stansfield
so
stepped off the
2
board.
years for an unexpired term.
Yep.
Yes, Colleen. So no one pulled papers for that. So anybody at home, if you're
Yes.
interested in the planning board, please think about pulling papers for the 2-year seat where it has no candidate at the moment.
And if you want to
Or-
find out what it's like, give me a call at home,
Yeah,
and
that's
I'll
right.
tell you all about it.
Mike Raisbeck, yes. And you could go to the town website
Yep.
to find the links to their email addresses. All of us, all of our town meeting reps, like myself and everyone. So, and you're up again for town meeting rep, by the way.
Right.
So, yeah, our time is really. But I wanted to mention the constable. I don't know if everybody knows this year, but we have a race for constable so far.
Yes.
There's one position. Unfortunately, Bill Spence passed away. He was our town constable for about 50 years. Did a great job. Nice guy. He's been on this show, and so we miss Bill. So that position is open, and we have two people who pulled papers. One is Pat Wojcic's brother, Charlie Wojcic, and the other is Dick McClure, who used to be on the planning
Right.
board a little while ago. And there may be other candidates too, but so far those who have pulled papers. And when you pull papers, that doesn't actually mean you're running. Then you have to get the signatures and decide to run. You could still decide not to run. So,
Yeah.
anybody else? Nobody? Any thoughts on the constable position?
Yeah, I was just going to say we had a few candidates who applied for the interim position, and I know at least one other, maybe a few others were interested in running for the full seat. Maybe they just haven't pulled papers yet. So I could easily see maybe one or two other people
There may
pulling
be.
papers for that, which would be an interesting race. That
Very
hasn't
interesting,
been,
I think,
contested
yeah.
for many years.
Yeah, and we also have a race for library trustee this year. At the moment, we have 3 candidates who pulled papers for the 2 positions. There, 2 are current incumbents. Lisa Daigle is planning to run for re-election, and we have David Brashlow. So both of those individuals are on the Board of Library Trustees, and we have Jillian Kenny pulled papers this year. So,
Do we know
any
anything
thoughts
about
about this race or anything? No.
I don't. Do you know? I don't know much
I don't-
about her.
I don't
You've
know.
been there before, haven't you?
Yeah, I was on the Board of Library Trustees for 3 years, and I served with both Lisa and David, and I love the library. It's a great board, and it's fantastic.
Yes, it is.
Oh, our time is up, but by the way, I was going to mention if anybody isn't on the Chelmsford News page yet on Facebook, it's a group of almost 3,000 members, mostly from Chelmsford, but not entirely. You don't have to. Please join the group, Chelmsford News, because if you want to know all about these candidates, anytime there's new candidates, I post it, all the news, all kinds of stuff. I'm trying to get Sal to be a private, but Sal doesn't have too much time. But
I will.
I've been urging Sal. When you run for governor, you got to announce on the Chelmsford
I
News
will.
page.
I promise. You're going to be the first. You'll,
All right, yeah.
you'll break the story.
Your godfather, right?
That's
Right. Yeah. So thank you very much, Glenn Diggs. Good luck with the campaign.
Thank
Glenn.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike Raisbeck.
Thanks so much, Tom.
Good luck with your town meeting rep campaign this year. Thank you very much, Matt Hanson. You did a great job on the Board of Selectmen, and wish you the best of luck in Tingsboro and whatever you do in the future.
Thank you. I wish Glenn and Mike and Sal all the best of luck as they continue their service, and good luck moving forward.
Thank you. How about me? Any luck for me?
Good luck with
Is
the
that-
show,
oh,
Tom.
no.
Oh, sorry.
No, I know you probably didn't mean it, but anyway. But Sal, thank you very much for being here. Our time is running out. Sal, you were in Boston, then you came here for the show, and then you're going back to Boston.
That's
that shows the dedication you have to let people know what's going on in town. Thank you very much. It's wonderful crew and our camera people, and we have Tom and Larry and Meredith and Pete. Thank you.